Hey you guys, so I want to take a little bit of time to talk about how I've been hurt by the church, but how God is, held me close during that time. And he's healing me, he healed me, he's healing me still. It's still over a process with some of my wounds, and I just want to share this in hopes that it will help someone else later on. And to know that, you are loved by God and that He is there for you. He has not left you and He loves you unconditionally. Man, you guys, this is a hard one to talk about, not only because I'm going to be expressing a little bit of my personal experience and everything, but also because it's something that should not be, it's something that should not happen. Being hurt by the church, something that should not happen. But God, during my time when I was, being affected by the church in a negative way, He taught me, and I knew this, but He's basically telling me, Alicia, the church is still human. The church are humans, and humans make mistakes. Humans, damage things and people knowingly or unknowingly, and it's sad, but it's a reality. But to me, the thing that makes it even more sad is that people, when they get hurt by the church, they basically equate that hurt by the church to, God hurting them and God not liking them, God not loving them. And so they leave, not only the church, but they leave God because they can't see the difference between church and God. And there is a big difference between the church and God. You guys, before I go into this, I just want to let you know this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy video, so be prepared. But okay, going into my story, so last year was a year of mixed emotions for me. It was a year of a lot of change for me, and in a lot of different ways that I can't go into all in this video, but I'm going to focus on certain parts. In February, I started going to a new church, which was terrifying for me. It was absolutely terrifying. I've always been at my father's church, so to go to a totally new church, huge church, it was terrifying. And I remember starting to go to the church, I was just like, you know what? I'm not even going to participate in anything. I'm just going to go to church, hear the word of God, worship God, and go on about my day. God was like, no, I'm going to need you to get into some of the, at the time they were calling them life groups. I went to the House Modesto, if anybody knows that church. I didn't. That's why I say it like that. I didn't know about the church. I just moved to Modesto, never heard about the church. My grandparents have always lived in Modesto, but I still never heard about the church anyway. And so he was like, I'm gonna need you to start getting into these life groups. And I'm like, oh God, I did not want to do it. And he wanted me to go with my peers, the young adults. I'm just like, oh, Jesus, no. Okay. But I did it. And I felt so much love, so much acceptance there. They were giving me hugs. Every time they see me, they were so excited. They would start conversations and everything else. And I'm just like, oh, I'm liking this. And so just a side note about me, just a little bit about me. Anytime I receive love and affection from a person, even if they're new, for some reason, an automatic attachment forms. And I'm just like, I just have that person in my heart becomes a dear friend. And, I didn't know this about myself until last year during my self-discovery, and I'm just like, oh man. And so all these, beautiful people, they're still beautiful people to me to this day, even though, I'm about to say some things. And so, I get around them and I'm in the groups and everything, and this is when God started teaching me. He was starting to teach me, and I'm just like, oh man, I know, I'm like, this is not gonna be good, because I know when God starts teaching me, I'm in a very vulnerable place. I'm in a place of like learning, and anyway, it's just, that's a different story too. But He was teaching me about true love. I've been on a journey of love ever since about January of last year. And so He was teaching me about true love, and true love between two people. And so God led me to the person that He had for me, that He has for me. And this person so happened to be a girl. And I was very drawn to her. I didn't know why, but I was really drawn to her. I wanted to know more about her. And she was avoiding me, and I could tell she was avoiding me from the beginning, but I didn't think too much into it. And so I'm sending her texts and letters and giving her gifts and stuff, explaining to her how much I love her and wanting to get to know her. And she was liking it at first, but then but she was still avoiding me. She was liking it, but she was still avoiding me. And so it came about a time in May that, something happened between us. And, she basically wanted to cut off, like me being around her. And so I'm just like, okay, but God put on my heart to give her this gift. And I'm like, God, should I give it to her? In this gift, I was telling her that I was falling in love with her platonically. And I'm like, God, should I give this to her? I mean, she's asked me to basically stop being around her. And he said, give it to her. And I'm just like, oh gosh, okay. So I gave it to her. She read it, and she blocked me on social media, and she had her friends to block me as well on social media. The friends blocking me did not faze me one bit. I was fine with that, because I'm like, you're just doing what she's either asked you to do, or whatever. But her blocking me, really, it affected me a little bit. So after she and her friends blocked me on social media, her little group of friends, I would see them, passing by in church, obviously, and I would just get strange looks, or I would just get totally ignored, like, you're just walking past some trash on the ground. And I was so hurt by this, because these are people that really, gave me hugs every time they seen me, or like shouted my name, or, we was building a friendship. And some of them actually didn't even know, to be honest. I did not know. I'm just like, I don't even know you, and you blocked me. Okay, whatever. And so I wanted to leave the church at this time. I'm going to be honest. I wanted to leave the church. I'm just like, maybe this was the wrong thing for me to do, wrong thing for me to come here, and everything. But God did something tricky. He did something tricky. I'm a lover. And so not only did I have that group that I was interacting with at that time, that young adults life group, but there was another one that I was in at that church. I'm sorry if the story is a little bit spotty. I'm trying to I'm trying not to make this too long, but I'm also trying to give you the information right. But yeah, I was in another life group as well, and these people were so beautiful and are so beautiful. They're still my friends to this day. And some of them knew, I told, some of them what was going on. Some of them didn't. But they were still friends with me. They still loved me and everything. And so this caused me to stay. This caused me to stay at the church, even though I wanted to leave, even though I was hurting really bad. But I stayed. And I stayed because of God asking me, and I stayed because of them, because I loved their friendship, and I just loved, their love. So as time went on, more people in the young adults leadership started to learn of my feelings that I was having for this particular person. And so they started treating me differently. They so at first, it was, no more hugs, and then it became, no hugs, and kind of no more hello either. If they did say hi, it was just hi, not really any type of conversation. And they started looking at me strange and everything else. I'm a smart person. I'm not dumb, especially when it comes to things like that. I catch on pretty quickly. And so it was just different. It was hard to deal with, but I was able to get through it in my own way and in my own time. Okay, so in August of last year was when when God showed me in the Bible how homosexuality, it doesn't say that homosexuality is a sin to him. And he taught me, about the subject of homosexuality, where their places in the Bible and everything else. And I did videos on that previously, and I'll put the link in the description if you're interested about seeing that. But anyway, so I was excited, and I'm just like, okay, so I did a presentation. I made a PowerPoint, and I'm just like, I want to share this. And so I wanted to go to the head pastor, the head pastor of the House Modesto, which is Pastor Glenn Berteau. I wanted to go to him, but it was like impossible to get a meeting with him because he, so big. It's such a big church. He's such a big person. And so I'm just like, okay, forget that then. And so I was like, well, why not go to the young adults pastor? So before I get to that, the young adults pastor kind of knew of me and how I felt towards this certain girl that is his student. I guess that's what you would call them. I don't know. Anyway, under his leadership. And so I was just like, okay, because I had sent her a letter in July, because we're in August, but in July I had sent her a letter. And I had sent her a letter, and I didn't want to, but God had asked me to. And so I'm guessing that she told him about me and everything else. And so going back to August, I'll get back to that story in a minute. Going back to August, I was like, okay, I will see how to get a meeting with him, the young adults pastor. So I knew his assistant, and one of my friends that was also go to that church and was with the young adults and everything. He was like, oh yeah, contact his assistant. And so I did. And so I had her number already because we had already talked, because I wanted to see how to join the this group thing they call 2-6 or something like that. And so I was already kind of in communication with her a little bit, not too much. And so I text her, and I'm just like, how do I get a meeting with pastor such and such? I don't want to say names. I only said the head pastor because everybody knows, who the head pastor is of that church, the House Modesto. And so I was like, how can I go about getting a meeting with the young adults pastor? And I didn't tell her why. I didn't tell her the topic of the meeting, but I still didn't get a response. And I'm like, okay. And so I go to the young adults, the assistant pastor's the young adults, and I had got his number. We were in communication because I was trying to get more involved with the young adults. And so when I had texted him before too, and he's responded and everything. But when I had made the same inquiry of how to get a meeting, there was no response. And so I put two and two together. Not only was these two people that I text dating, the assistant pastor and the pastor's assistant, dating at the time, but I put two and two together that they basically the pastor or the girl that I liked or love whatever, must have told them not to communicate with me or something like that. Something happened, because I'm just like, nothing, oh, you can't, he's very busy right now, so I don't think, nothing. I didn't get any type of response. So I'm like, okay. So then I go and I sent him a direct message on Instagram, and there was still no response. And I actually told him what I wanted to meet with him about. I said, I want to do a presentation on the first and last Adam and homosexuality. And I told him I had a PowerPoint and everything else. No response. And I'll get to how I know for sure that he had this, he got this direct message. But anyway, there was no response. And so I'm just like, okay. And so I started emailing other pastors and everything. And so I finally got a pastor that would let me present to them. And he did. He let me present to him. And he was so nice. And I thanked him for his time and everything. We had a little bit of a discussion. You know, he didn't agree with me, of course. But, you know, and he said my, you know, stuff was flawed, but I'm just like, I don't see how it's flawed. But then I seen how it would be flawed to him, because I thought he knew some things, but he didn't know some things that I knew anyway. But yeah, and so I'm just like, okay, so yeah, I mean, it's just a lot that happened during that time. And I'm just like, okay, so she must have, you know, told them about me, about how, you know, my feelings and everything. And so that's why they're not responding to me. You know, the pastor, young adults pastor, did not respond to me or anything. Going back to July, after I had sent her, so I didn't directly give this person that I love, this woman that I love, the letter in July. So in May, I stopped all communication with her. Because she blocked me, it freaked me out so much, to the point I take blocking as like a restraining order, basically. And so when I seen her in person, I did not make eye contact with her. I ignored her, because I'm just like, I don't know what you want me to do. You blocked me, so what do you want me to do in person? Do you want me to say hello? So I'm just like, I don't understand this. You know, I feel like blocking is kind of like an immature thing for me. It's like, just tell me, you know, I don't want any contact with you. You freaked me out because you said I'm falling in love with, do something, you know. But I gave her that letter in July. Did not want to, but we had not been talking from May until July, and still didn't even talk. Well, I said hello to her at church, and that's only because God pressed it upon my heart to do that. And all I did was say hello, basically. And so gave her a letter, and I gave it to a person in the young adults field area, leadership, whatever you want to call it, to give to her. And I was supposed to go out of town for a little bit, but I didn't. And so I was just texting this girl, because this girl that was in the leadership, because, you know, I wanted to be a part of the program called 2-6. And so I was texting her, and she was like, we need to meet with Pastor such and such about such and such. And I'm just like, oh, good Lord, what if this girl tell them, you know? And I'm just like, okay. And so I agreed. I'm like, okay, I'm actually in town. You know, I didn't leave when I was supposed to, so I'm actually in town right now. And there was no response after that. I had went to church. I seen the young adult pastor. He seen me, didn't say anything. The girl seen me, didn't say anything. The girl that I love seen me, didn't say anything. You know, and I'm just like, I'm not hiding. I'm right here. You want to have a meeting? Let's do this. Nothing happened. Okay. And so going back to August, after I do my presentation, I received a call from the church, and it was from the head of security. Y'all, head of security called me and was like, I've heard you've been emailing pastors about a presentation on homosexuality. First thing that goes through my mind, first of all, it was not just strictly on homosexuality. And so I told her, it's actually on the first and last Adam and homosexuality. And she was like, well, I'm gonna need you to come in to talk to you about that. And I'm just like, oh, it's okay. You know, I already presented to a pastor. He gave me his feedback. We're good. I told her the pastor's name. Because she was like, who's the pastor? Told her the pastor's name. And she was like, but I still need, you know, and before I could just say I did my job, I'm gonna need you to come in. And I'm just like, okay, I'll come in. Guys, I'm gonna try to say this in the most respectful way as I can, just in case anybody, you know, looks at this that knows about this situation. It was the most pointless meeting of my entire life. Okay, and I'm just gonna say that, because she did not want to talk to me about my presentation. So I brought, my notes and everything to this meeting with the head of security. And thinking, she wanted to talk about the presentation. No, she wanted to talk to me about staying away from this girl that I told my feelings to, falling in love with. That's the whole reason why and I'm just like, you telling me that I'm here just for you to tell me to stay away from this girl that I have not been in contact with since May. I have not talked to her. The only time I talked to her was at the end of July for like a short second. Gave her friend a letter to give to her from me. That's the only type of communication I've had. Ever since then, I have not contacted her. I do not have her number anymore. I think at the time I had deleted it. And I'm just like, are you serious? Are you bringing me in to tell me something that I am not doing? And I'm just like, what in the world did this girl tell them? Did she tell them I was harassing her? I was stalking her? I was, following her home, following her to every, place that she goes? I'm just like, what in the world? Why do these people why did this pastor, because I knew it was the English pastor, because I'm like, okay, so he knew I had the presentation on homosexuality and he knows I have feelings for this girl. And so I'm just like, okay, so he must have told the head of the security to talk to me. Why did you feel the need to have the head of security talk to me? Why couldn't you talk to me yourself? And so I was highly offended. And I'm just like, are you serious right now? I'm just like, all I did was give her letters. Yes, in the beginning, I sent her a lot of texts and God told me you need to calm down. And I'm just like, but I want to know, why am I so drawn to her? And so God was like, but you still need to calm down the texting. I'm like, okay, I'll calm down. Gave her 3 gifts before we stopped talking. Yeah, 3, I think it was. I did not, I have other things to do with my time besides go and find out where she works, find out, what is she doing all day? Where is she? I don't know. I'm sorry. And so it's like, why did that's why I say it was so ridiculous, so pointless. And I'm just like, that was a complete waste of my time. That was not even called for. That offended me so much because I'm just wanted to know, why didn't you come to me? Ask me, what are my intentions with, my feelings with this girl? If you feel, why did you feel so threatened to the point you needed to call the head of security to tell me to don't have any contact with her? Was I having any contact with her at all? No, I was not. So it's like, it was so pointless. It made me so upset, and God had to work with me on that and still working with me on that, but so upset. And I'm just like, y'all really ridiculous. Okay. And it's just the situation. I'm not calling, okay, maybe I shouldn't say they were ridiculous, but it was ridiculous. Ridiculous, pointless. All this that happened should not have been. All the pastor had to do, the young adults pastor, all he had to do was call me in and say, Alicia, I want to talk to you about, what I've been hearing. But no, instead of doing that, he just sends me to security and he allows his leadership basically to look at me, like they look at me, to treat me like they treat me and everything else, but just, like I said, it was a whole bunch of love in the beginning, but then, oh, let's look at her like this now, or, oh, let's stop talking to her. She has some type of disease or something was wrong with this girl. Really? Because that's showing the love of God. That's showing God's unconditional love. And so that offended me because it's like, you're trying to show people the love of God, correct? But you're not doing so with me. I said, if this has happened to me, who else will it happen to, or has it happened to? And I'm just like, no. I am highly offended because you are disrespecting God's love, first of all, and then you are it's just, no, you don't do that. We're people of God. We show love, genuine love, all the time, even when we don't understand. At any point in time, these leaders could have came to me and said, Alicia, I'm hearing this about you, and I don't know who you are, but you seem like a nice person. Can we talk about this? I know this is a personal thing for you, but can we talk about this a little bit? I would gladly talk to them. Gladly. Would I tell them everything or pour out my heart? No. I would not pour out my heart to them, but I would tell them things that they probably already knew. I'm honest. I told one of the leaders there that I was having feelings for her, that I told her I was platonically falling in love with. I was honest with him. But these people unfollowed me on social media during a time that I didn't really have a presence on social media. The two of them unfollowed me that I noticed. And I'm just like, wow, that's really love. That's some love right there. All you had to do was talk to me. Oh, that's all that had to happen. But it didn't. You guys, I've never wanted to fall in love with a girl because growing up as a Christian in a strong Christian family, it's always thought it was a sin. Always thought that God didn't like it. So I never wanted to fall in love with a girl, even though I did deal with same-sex attraction, but I've never acted on it. And so I've never wanted that for myself. But as God was teaching me about homosexuality, because God is teaching me about love, He's teaching me about true love. He taught me that it wasn't a sin, and He had me to fall in love with a woman. And as much as it terrified me, I was not opposed to it, only because He was helping me to understand. And I feel like the church, this church in particular, the pastor, since it was such a serious topic, he should have came to me and asked for a meeting, or said, can you make a meeting with this girl? I need to talk to her. Her soul is at stake. If he really felt so passionately that I was going to hell or something, this is not in God's will for me. I did not receive that. And so Christianity, from what I understand, they don't understand homosexuality. And I'm going to quote a movie, one of my superhero movies, because I love superhero movies. And in that movie, this scene stuck out to me. I think it was The Dark Phoenix. This quote stood out to me. They said, what they don't understand, they fear. And what they fear, they seek to destroy. Christianity wants to destroy homosexuality. Christianity will never destroy homosexuality because homosexuality is love. It's a form of love, just like heterosexuality. And so because it's a form of love, it will never be destroyed. And so that's why Christianity, those who are opposed to homosexuality in general, need to try to seek to understand it instead of trying to seek to destroy it. Because homosexuality, same-sex couples will always be among us, and they will always be present. And so instead of trying to destroy it, you need to try to understand it. That's what needs to be done. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just understand it and let it be. Let them be happy. Let them be. Let them feel your love and acceptance, because that's all that this community is asking for. They want to attend church. They want to, be in fellowship with other believers, but they do not feel it when they go to certain churches. And so this church, I love this church. They do not agree with homosexuality, but neither do I agree with some of their beliefs. But I still attend this church, and I love this church. I'm still have a strong attachment with this church for some reason. Not that I'm opposed to having a strong attachment, but I still have one, and I still attend there. But it's just like with Christianity. I love and respect Christianity, but I do not call myself a Christian. I call myself a lover of God, a lover of Jesus, a disciple of God. And that's because I do not believe like Christianity believes on certain topics, not only just the topic of homosexuality, but on the topics that I have, talked about on this channel. I do not believe like Christianity believes. And so I call myself a disciple of Jesus. And so I just say that instead of trying to, destroy homosexuality, Christianity should just try to understand it. Try to seek understanding. That's all that they want, really. That's all that they want, is you to understand and accept them and love them. Because they want to be a part of the community. They want to be a part of the church. They don't want to be hurt. They don't want to be rejected and ridiculed and beat and just looked at as disgusting and not normal and anything else. What is normal? What is normal? There's so we're all different. We're all different. And my story of my hurt, of the church, being hurt by the church may not be nothing compared to someone else's experience or what they had to endure. But I just want to share my experience because I'm hurt deeply when someone rejects me, when someone, takes their love back. That's when I become hurt. But I wanted to share this and just say that I'm praying for the church, that there comes about a change, and that's why I'm at the church that I'm at. Even though they don't agree with homosexuality, I'm there because I want to see it change. And I believe that God is about ready to bring about that change, not only in this church, but the church as a whole, God's people. And I'm so ready to see that because I don't want to hear another soul being hurt by the church. That is not God's people. That is not God's way. God is love. And it's not even just on the subject of homosexuality, but anything in general that, the church have hurt, the people on, how they dress, what music they listen to, or who they're, with, maybe they're with a man that, they say, oh, he's so beneath you, or with a woman, oh, she doesn't deserve, so stuff like that, not having enough finances, not being wealthy enough. And so that's why the church rejects you. Any way you've been hurt by the church, it should not be. And so I'm here because I'm praying for change. I'm praying for God's people. I'm praying for myself. I just want to see more love, more acceptance in the world, in the church. And that's what I am here for. I am here because God has asked me to do something, and I'm here to see it be done at all cost. And I give him my life for him to use for this purpose. And though I wasn't able to tell you my whole experience, I told you what I could without getting, emotional, and without making this video entirely too long, which it is. But I hope that you were able to get what you could out of it. And I pray that it helps you or someone else to see that God is for you, that God is with you, and that God loves you and he's healing you, even though the church may have hurt you. And do whatever God is asking you to do. If he's asking you to stay at the church that hurt you, stay. There's a reason. Be the change that you want to see. Maybe he's going to use you to bring about that change in that community, in that church. You never know. You never know what God has planned for you and how he plans to use you. So I just pray for everyone. I pray for this channel. I pray for the church. I pray for the world. I pray for God's people. I pray for everyone. I love you.